Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into a different body, a different age, where the air is warm, the sky deep blue with streaks of fading light, and the Nile rolls slowly past fields of barley and emmer. You are not yourself anymore. You are someone barefoot, skin brushed by dust, linen loose against the sweat of a long day. The mud brick walls around you glow in the evening, their surfaces still radiating heat. Beyond them, the river breathes coolness, carrying reeds that whisper when the breeze moves. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, share where you're listening from tonight and what time it is for you. I always find it soothing to imagine voices joining from every corner of the world. Now dim the lights, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The sun is dropping, red as a clay jar, sinking toward the horizon. You walk slowly, shoulders aching from work in the fields, arms tired from lifting baskets heavy with grain. Dust clings to your ankles, mixed with bits of straw. You move past huts where goats shuffle and bray, their ropes taut around simple wooden stakes. Somewhere a child giggles, somewhere a woman calls out, grinding the last of the day's wheat on a rough stone quern. The sound is heavy, rhythmic, like two rocks pushed against one another, and every household knows it well. You step inside your small room. The air smells of smoke and earth. A low lamp flickers. You feel hunger pressing at your stomach, that hollow space made sharper by the smell of grain and herbs nearby. You know what is waiting for you. Bread, coarse and brown, baked hours ago in a clay oven. It is rough to the touch, hard around the edges, but it carries the scent of survival. This is not the table of a pharaoh, not the delicate banquet of high officials. This is an ordinary evening, a simple home, and you are simply hungry. That hunger is its own guide. You sit on the woven mat, hear the scratch of straw beneath you, and tear the bread with your fingers. It resists you, gritty at the edges, scattering small crumbs onto your lap. You chew, slowly aware of every bite. The village around you quiets as the stars rise. Somewhere further down the slope, fishermen tie their boats, the smell of dried reeds mingling with river water. Dogs bark once, then lie down. The temple in the distance still glows faintly with torches, priests murmuring hymns you can only half hear. All around, life winds down, but inside your chest the rhythm of the day still echoes. The heat, the dust, the endless labor. Food is the anchor that steadies you now, and as you eat, you feel your body remember what it means to rest. The evening stretches, you lean back, and your eyes wander over the dim interior. Clay jars line the wall, some filled with grain, others with lentils or onions. A basket holds dates, dark and sticky, their skins slightly wrinkled but still fragrant. A small pot rests near the fire pit, its ashes still glowing faintly from when the bread was baked earlier. Smoke lingers in the air, soft and bitter, clinging to your hair and clothing. Outside, the voices of neighbors drift through the thin walls. Someone hums a work song, soft and wavering. Children laugh once more before a mother hushes them. A donkey shifts its weight, hooves knocking against a wooden post. The sounds fade slowly, like ripples after a stone is dropped in water, until all you hear is the quiet hush of the Nile, steady and endless. You lift the cup beside you, its surface cool and rough in your hand. Inside is water drawn from a nearby channel, cloudy with silt. You hesitate. You've seen what happens when the water sits too long, when animals stir it upstream, so you set it aside and glance toward the beer jug instead. It waits for you tomorrow, thick and sour, but safer than the river. Tonight you choose only bread, only quiet chewing, only the slow filling of your stomach. You lie back, your head against a folded cloth. The ceiling is low, beams blackened from years of smoke. Through a small gap near the roof, a sliver of night sky appears. A single star glimmers, trembling slightly in the heat that still radiates from the ground. You breathe deeply, chest loosening, belly full enough now that the hunger has quieted. Your jaw aches faintly from chewing, Tiny grains of grit have worked their way into the bread from the grinding stones, and you feel them against your teeth. It is familiar, expected. Everyone carries the same ware. Some elders in the village have mouths half ruined, teeth broken or missing from years of the same rough diet. You think of them and swallow slowly, hoping your own teeth last long enough. The lamp flickers lower, and you curl onto your side. Linen sticks slightly to your damp skin, but the coolness of night begins to move in through the cracks. A breeze stirs the mat beneath you, bringing with it the smell of damp reeds and mud. The Nile exhales, and you breathe with it. The world feels smaller now. Your hut, the bread still sitting in your hand, the slow beat of your own heart. Beyond the walls lies Egypt in all its size, temples and palaces, markets and fields. But for you tonight, the universe is no larger than the circle of light from your lamp, and the shadows just beyond it. You close your eyes for a moment. The day's labor ebbs away, leaving only the comfort of food in your belly, the hum of voices fading into silence, and the steady whisper of the river outside. In this calm you drift closer to sleep, closer to dreams that will carry you deeper into the night. The morning presses down with a warmth that has no patience. You wake before the sun, stirred by the sound of roosters and the shuffle of neighbors already moving toward the fields. Your back is stiff from the mat, and your tongue feels dry from the dust that settled overnight. Outside, the horizon grows pale, a thin silver band above the black line of the desert. You push aside the reed mat covering the doorway and step into air that smells of ashes and river mud. You walk barefoot through packed dirt toward the outdoor oven shared by your family. Its clay dome still radiates faint heat from yesterday's fire. Beside it sits the quernstone, two heavy slabs worn smooth by years of grinding. Your hands already know the motion. You pour a small measure of emmer wheat onto the top stone, fingers brushing kernels that are hard and sharp-edged. With slow practiced circles you push the upper stone over the grain. The sound is rough, grating like sand dragged against rock. A fine dust rises, catching the first strands of sunlight. The flour collects in the basin below, coarse and grey-brown, speckled with tiny shards of grit. Every household in the village accepts this. The stone wears against the grain, and the grain carries fragments of stone with it. You know it will be there in the bread you chew later, just as it was yesterday and the day before. No meal is free of it. Records from centuries later will show jaws broken and teeth ground flat from these fragments, but you only know the ache in your gums when you chew too quickly. You kneel by the oven, mixing the flour with water drawn at dawn. The dough is heavy in your hands, rough and unyielding. You press it into flat rounds, your palms dusted with grey powder that clings like ash. The smell is raw, earthy, almost sour. You slide the loaves into the oven with a shard of pottery, listening as the first crackle of heat curls around them. Smoke escapes from the low mouth of the dome, searing your eyes. You cough, blink, and step back, waiting. Minutes stretch. The sky grows brighter, shifting from silver to gold. Chickens peck near your feet, scattering shells and straw. A neighbor greets you with a nod, carrying a bundle of reeds for repair work. Behind him, a child runs past with sticky fingers, clutching a half-eaten date. The day is beginning, filled with its ordinary noises. The creak of a rope, the splash of water in jars, the steady beat of a mallet striking wood. At last the bread is ready. You pull it from the oven, its edges charred, its surface cracked like dry earth. The smell is comforting, warm and bitter at once. You break a piece in your hands. It resists, then gives with a small snap. Steam curls from the interior, carrying the scent of roasted grain. You lift it to your mouth and bite. The first chew is always the hardest. The crust scrapes your gums, and you feel the grit grind against your molars. You chew again, slower until the bread softens with your saliva. The taste is plain, almost harsh but filling. It is the flavor of survival. You chew longer, swallowing at last with a faint scrape in your throat. Some loaves, when time allows, are shaped to amuse in the form of fish, of birds, of flowers. Others are flavored with coriander or dates, turning sustenance into celebration. But today is ordinary, And your bread is ordinary too. Plain, coarse, sustaining. You imagine it will taste the same tomorrow, and the day after. Bread is the axis of your life, appearing in wages, offerings and even promises. 1,000 loaves, some say, are written in spells for the afterlife, as if no eternity is complete without the same chewing, the same swallowing. You carry your loaf outside. The air is brighter now, shadows retreating beneath the huts. People walk toward the fields with tools across their shoulders. The Nile glimmers in the distance, its water already lifting heat into the sky. You chew as you walk, each bite slower than the last, jaw tightening with effort. You swallow and feel the heaviness spread into your belly, anchoring you for the labor ahead. By midday, the bread is dry and tough. You soak pieces in water to soften them, watching as they break apart, turning into a paste. Sometimes the paste becomes the base for beer, left to ferment, but today it is only lunch, eaten quickly in the shade of a mud wall. The air vibrates with cicadas. Your skin burns from the sun, sweat sticking your linen to your back. The bread fills you, but it does not refresh. Evening comes slowly, your shoulders ache, your arms shake from lifting. You return with the others, feet dragging through the dust. Smoke rises again from the ovens, signaling another round of baking. The smell is everywhere, carried on the wind. You eat again, as you did in the morning, tearing off pieces, chewing until your jaw protests. Hunger silences complaint. As darkness falls, the rhythm repeats. The grinding stone, the mixing, the baking, the chewing. Bread is not simply food here. It is wage, gift, sacrifice, and curse. You taste it with each day, and imagine tasting it still when your body is gone. Offerings placed by careful hands in the tomb to follow you into silence. The lamp burns low again. The Nile whispers through the night, and you curl onto your mat with the faint scrape of grit still caught between your teeth. Tomorrow and the day after, and the day after that, the bread will wait. The sun lifts itself over the horizon with a glare that makes you squint. Heat presses before the morning even finds its strength, and you feel the dryness in your throat before you have taken more than a few steps from the doorway. A jar of water waits nearby, filled at dawn from the river, but you hesitate. Everyone hesitates. You have seen the upstream channel where hippos churn and where refuse drifts. You know how easily the water spoils, how often stomachs cramp when it is taken too boldly. Instead, you reach for the safer vessel, the wide-bellied jug of beer. It sits heavy in your hands, clay rough against your palms, its surface warmed by the sun. You tilt it and peer inside. The liquid is thick, darker than modern eyes might expect, opaque with floating grain. Small lumps rise and fall with the slow movement. Foam clings to the rim. The smell is yeasty, sour, alive. You pour some into a cup made of baked clay. The stream gurgles, and small fragments of barley husk settle at the bottom. When you lift it to your lips, you must drink carefully. The liquid flows sluggishly, like porridge thinned with water, and you swallow with effort, your tongue pushing aside fragments of softened bread. It tastes sour-sweet, tangy on the back of your throat, and it fills your belly as much as it quenches your thirst. This is not a luxury. This is life. Bread and beer form the twin pillars of sustenance, and here the beer is safer than water. Children sip it from small cups, their lips foamy. Workers carry it in jars to the fields. Temples brew it for festivals. Even wages come in liquid form. A man hauling stone for the pyramids is paid not only with bread but with beer, several liters each day. You imagine finishing your labor with a jug heavy in your arms, the drink buzzing in your head, a small consolation for the heat and the dust. You sit under the shade of a low wall and take another mouthful. It coats your teeth with a film of grain, and you chew before swallowing. The sound around you swells, neighbors grinding grain, voices calling across the yard, goats bleating as they are led to pasture. The beer dulls the edge of thirst and brings a faint warmth to your chest. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and exhale, the sourness still clinging to your breath. There is a memory, carried by those older than you, that beer is sacred. Hymns speak of its goddess, Tenenet, who guards both childbirth and the brewing of this drink. To sip is not only to survive, but to share in a divine act. At festivals, priests raise jugs toward the gods, their lips stained with the same foam as laborers. The drink unites, inebriates, and sustains. You remember hearing once that in times of plague, when water grew deadly, beer kept families alive. No one doubts it now. You shift on the mat, stomach warming with the drink. The cup is nearly empty, but a line of residue clings to the inside, gritty to the touch. You scrape it with a finger, taste it, and find it stronger than the liquid, a concentrated tang of yeast and grain. Children sometimes beg for that taste, licking the jars clean. You imagine them with foamy mouths, laughing, falling asleep in the dust. The day grows hotter, and you step outside again. The beer jug is heavier now in your stomach than in your hands. You feel it as you bend, as you lift tools, as you stretch your back. It is sustenance and burden at once. The sun strikes harder, and sweat beads across your skin, salt mixing with dust until your arms are streaked with white. You pause, lifting another cup, and the beer soothes again, slipping into you with its grainy weight. Somewhere nearby, women sing as they brew. The air smells faintly of malt, of warm bread soaking in water, of yeast alive in clay jars. You know the process well. Loaves half-baked, then crumbled and soaked, left in large vessels to ferment. Sometimes the mixture is strained through a basket of reeds, sometimes not. The result is always the same: thick, nourishing, slightly intoxicating. You hear laughter. A neighbor, already light-headed, sways as he carries a jar. He spills some onto the ground, and the liquid seeps into the dirt, darkening it like rain. He laughs again, careless, and others tease him. You smile faintly. You have felt that same sway, the gentle unmooring that comes when you drink too quickly. Even the gods, it is said, once drank until the world blurred, a tale told of Hathor's bloodlust, quenched by beer dyed red to look like blood. The story lingers, half warning, half reverence. The afternoon stretches long. You keep working, your arms heavy, your back bent. Each pause brings another sip. By evening, when you set down your tools, your stomach feels both full and hollow, buzzing with the day's drink. The air cools slightly, and you return to the village, jars now lighter. At night, the beer remains. You sit with your family around a low lamp, and each person drinks from the same jug. Children giggle, elders nod drowsily, conversation drifts and fades. The liquid is warm by now, almost sour, but still it soothes, it eases the body into rest, dulls the hunger that bread alone cannot quiet, and binds the family together with its shared taste. Before sleep, you look again into the vessel. Only dregs remain, thick at the bottom, clinging to the clay. You scrape some into your hand, lick it from your palm, and let it coat your tongue. It is bitter, heavy, and strangely comforting. You set the jug aside, knowing tomorrow another will be ready, brewed fresh, its foam rising, its sourness sharp, its nourishment steady as the river. You lie down, your belly full of bread and beer, your body sinking into the mat. The night hums outside, insects buzzing, reeds brushing in the wind. Your eyelids lower, and in the darkness you still taste grain and yeast, the quiet signature of Egypt's most faithful drink. The sun climbs high again, and the air turns heavy, pressing against your skin like a damp cloth left too long in the heat. You move slowly, shoulders tired from yesterday's labor, and the weight of bread and beer in your belly. Yet your mouth searches for something else, something sweet to break the monotony of grain and grit. That sweetness is everywhere in Egypt, hanging in clusters on palms that rise like green flames above the dusty ground. You see them swaying, tall and certain, their heavy fruit glistening where sunlight slides across the skin. Dates. You reach into a woven basket, its fibers coarse against your palm, and pick up one of the fruits. It is soft, the skin wrinkled, warm from the air. You press it lightly between your fingers, and it yields sticky, leaving a thin film that clings to your hand. When you lift it to your lips and bite, the flesh collapses easily. Sweetness floods your mouth, deep and rich, like honey but sharper. It sticks to your teeth, coats your tongue, sends a tremor of energy through you. This is indulgence, but also necessity. Dates feed soldiers, workers, priests, children. They appear in offering bowls, in wages, in medicine jars. You think of the scribes who dip their pens in ink by day and their hands in dates by night. Records etched onto papyri speak of dates as cure for constipation, as balm for weakness, even as an aphrodisiac whispered about in the corners of taverns. You smile faintly, chewing slowly, the fruit gluing your jaw together. Beside you, children press sticky fingers into the basket, pulling out dates and shoving them quickly into their mouths. Their laughter rings bright, teeth already brown with sugar. They chase one another, palms sticky, eyes wide with the rush of sweetness. An elder frowns at them, muttering about waste and aching teeth. But the children do not listen. The heat thickens. You pick up another date. It looks less like fruit now, and more like a lump of caramel, a brown jewel formed in the desert. You hold it up to the light. The skin glimmers, taut and fragile, while the pit inside is hard and unyielding. You bite again, slower this time, savoring the rich taste. It is indulgence, yes, but also power. Each bite carries the sun's strength, stored and waiting. Not all dates are eaten raw. You have seen women mash them into a paste, grinding until the fruit becomes a dark, sticky mass. They roll the paste with barley flour, forming small balls that hold together like clay. Some are dusted with crushed nuts, others left plain. The smell is intoxicating, sweet, earthy, faintly smoky from the fire nearby. Children beg for them. Even men hardened by labor lean close, eyes hungry for the treat. At festivals dates are everywhere, fried with oil, stuffed with honey, mixed with nuts, laid out on platters beside roasted meat. The air swells with the scent of sugar, smoke and incense. You remember standing in a crowd, shoulder to shoulder with others, as musicians played, dancers moved, and vendors shouted, their hands full of sticky confections. You bit into one, hot from the stone where it was fried, and the sweetness shocked you, so intense it made your head spin. You licked your fingers clean, but the stickiness clung to your skin, impossible to escape. Sometimes the sweetness turns darker. You recall eating too many dates in the heat of one afternoon, the sugar rush filling your chest with a kind of trembling energy. At first it felt like strength, like new life coursing through your veins. But then your stomach tightened, your mouth went dry, your head grew heavy. You staggered, hands gripping your knees, while your friends laughed and shook their heads. Too many, they said. Too much. The ibis standing nearby watched silently, its head cocked, as if judging your gluttony. Still you returned the next day. Everyone does. Dates are a cycle, longing, indulgence, regret and longing again. Even priests who should rise above such cravings accept bowls of them as offerings. In temples they sit beside bread and beer, their smell rising with the smoke of incense. The gods are believed to savor not the flesh but the essence, the sweetness released into the air. The leftovers, the priests keep them, chewing slowly in the cool shadows of the temple walls. At home dates stretch your meals. When bread grows too rough, you mash a date and spread it over the crumb, turning grit into sweetness. When beer grows too sour, you drop a piece into the jug, letting it soften and dissolve, its sugars blending with the tang. When hunger gnaws but work keeps you from sitting, you carry a handful in your pouch, chewing them one by one as you walk along the canal. The fruit binds itself to your daily life, just as it binds itself to your teeth. It never quite leaves you. Its sweetness lingers, caught in your mouth long after the flesh is gone. You wipe your fingers on your linen kilt, but the stickiness transfers, staining the fabric darker. Hours later, when you lift the cloth to your nose, the smell is still there, faint but insistent. You lie down in the shade of a tree. The palm above you sways, its fronds rattling softly like bones strung together. You watch the clusters sway, heavy with fruit, and wonder how many thousands have eaten the same taste, the same sticky indulgence, across centuries. Kings, priests, soldiers, laborers all have known the sweetness of dates. You close your eyes and chew another, slowly letting the sugar fill your mouth until it feels as though it will never leave. The afternoon fades. The air cools slightly, though the heat remains heavy in the earth. You sit by the river, your belly full, your fingers still sticky. Children chase each other with date pits, tossing them like stones. Elders sit together, chewing slowly, their jaws moving in rhythm with the river's flow. Night arrives again. You lie on your mat, and the taste of dates is still there, clinging to your tongue, your lips, your memory. You close your eyes, and in the darkness sweetness lingers, deep and endless, like the Nile itself. The sun burns steadily, its light reflected on the water so brightly that your eyes ache when you look too long. The Nile is endless, carrying barges stacked with jars, baskets, and bundles of reeds. On the bank near you, women stir pots of something thick and dark, the smell rising into the air, sweet, smoky, almost overwhelming. You draw closer, curiosity tugging at you, and the heat from the pots brushes your face like the breath of a furnace. Inside, dates boil and collapse into themselves, bubbling into a syrup that moves as slowly as honey and glistens like bronze. You watch the women lift the heavy wooden paddles, stirring the mixture with patient rhythm. Each stroke brings up strands of molten sweetness that stretch and cling before sliding back into the pot. The air is sticky with sugar. It clings to your skin, fills your nose, coats your throat, even before you taste it. A woman dips a reed into the pot and holds it out, letting a thick thread of syrup fall onto a piece of barley bread. The syrup does not pour. It crawls. You see how it spreads across the surface, reluctant, heavy, determined to hold together. You take the bread when offered. Your fingers sink into the syrup, and it pulls at your skin as though it does not want to let go. You bring it to your mouth and bite. The sweetness is immediate and fierce, so strong it stings a little, as though you have swallowed sunlight condensed into a drop. It coats your tongue, clings to your teeth, sinks into every corner of your mouth. The bread itself almost disappears beneath the weight of flavor. For a moment you cannot breathe properly. The syrup holds your jaw, locks your lips, demands your full attention. You chew slowly, eyes watering, until finally you swallow. The sweetness drops into your stomach like a stone, heavy and intoxicating. You lick your lips, but the stickiness is still there. You lick your fingers, and the syrup strings between them like threads of spun glass. You laugh softly at the absurdity, but no one else seems surprised. This is what date syrup does. It invades, it takes, it stays. You hear stories of how healers use it. Mixed with herbs, it becomes medicine for stomach pains, for weakness, for moods that linger like shadows. Some claim it strengthens the body, others that it mends the spirit. A scribe once wrote that a spoonful could drive away melancholy, though perhaps it was only the shock of sweetness that startled sorrow from the mind. Not everyone agrees, of course. Some shake their heads, saying syrup causes more harm than cure, that it feeds fevers and ruins teeth. Still, you watch them dipping bread into pots, spooning it into jars, licking their hands clean. The syrup is not only food, but also tool. You have seen it brushed across dried fish to preserve it, smeared onto cakes to seal them, even used to bind layers of pastry into something firmer. Children know it as treat, workers as fuel, and some craftsmen whisper of it as glue when nothing else will hold. When you see a jar tipped too quickly, you realize just how stubborn it is. The syrup oozes slower than you thought possible, fighting gravity, clinging to the jar's sides, dragging grains of sand with it. By the time it falls, the drop is as large as a pebble, and lands with a slap. Later, in the shade of a house wall, you cradle a small piece of bread with syrup pooled on top. Flies circle instantly, drawn by the smell, and you wave them away. You bite again, slower this time, ready for the thickness. It spreads across your tongue like resin. You chew and chew, eyes closing, until your jaw tires. But even as fatigue settles in, a strange satisfaction warms you. You feel alive, energized, ready to lift, to walk, to endure the sun's weight for a little longer. The sensation lingers long after the food is gone. Your lips remain sticky, your fingers glue themselves together when you try to pick up a jar. You wipe them on your linen, but now the cloth clings to you stiff and dark with sugar stains. A cat brushes against your leg and recoils, its fur caught in the syrup. You shake your head, half amused, half irritated. The sweetness has chosen you, and there is no escaping it. Toward evening you return to the riverside, where jars of finished syrup are cooling. Their surfaces shine like polished stone, and you can see your reflection warped in their dark amber. The jars will travel far, offered at temples, sold in markets, carried in funerary processions. You imagine them sealed in tombs, waiting centuries to be opened, the syrup still clinging inside like the patience of the dead. As the sun lowers, you watch vendors spreading syrup onto barley cakes. The crowd gathers, hands reaching, coins exchanging. Children press forward, adults hold them back, voices rise, and the smell thickens until it seems the air itself has turned sweet. You take another piece. The syrup drips down your chin this time, and you wipe it with the back of your hand. The taste clings, darker than honey, deeper than fruit, carrying the very essence of the Nile's soil. Night comes, cool at last. You sit by the doorway of your hut, stomach full, hands still sticky despite washing. The stars glimmer above, and the sound of the river softens. Yet the syrup remains on your tongue, stubborn and insistent, as though it refuses to let you forget. You close your eyes, body sinking towards sleep, and the last thing you taste is sweetness, thick and eternal, echoing through the silence. The morning begins with golden light spilling across the riverbank. The air is already warm, but the sweetness of yesterday still clings faintly to your lips. You stir from your mat, stretching stiff arms and tasting again in memory the thick date syrup that bound your fingers and stained your tunic. Today your body craves something lighter, yet no less indulgent. In Egypt, sweetness is not rare, it grows in hives that hum with life. You walk toward a cluster of reeds where bees hover, their bodies glinting like drops of molten bronze in the sun. The buzzing fills the air, steady, insistent, surrounding you in a sound that feels both chaotic and organized. A man approaches carefully, smoke in his hand. He waves it near the hive, and the bees scatter, dazed and slowed. From inside the hollow of a clay cylinder, combs are lifted, golden and dripping. The smell is intoxicating, floral, warm, wild, honey. You watch as the comb breaks apart in his hands, thick drops sliding down his wrists. He lets them fall into a pot, where they collect like sunlight turned liquid. The air is suddenly alive with scent, sweeter even than syrup, sharp enough to make your teeth ache just from breathing it. He hands you a piece of comb, and you bite into it without hesitation. The wax resists at first, then bursts beneath your teeth. Honey floods your mouth, warm and silky, clinging to your tongue and gums. It is purer than dates, lighter, almost floral. You chew the wax slowly, the honey draining from it, then spit out the softened husk. Your fingers stick instantly, and you lick them clean, marveling at how easily the taste lingers. Honey is no simple treat here. It is divine. The people say bees sprang from the tears of Re himself. To taste honey is to share in a god's sorrow and joy. Priests carry jars into temples, pouring them over offerings of bread or meat. At funerals, honey coats the loaves left with the dead, ensuring sweetness in the afterlife. Healers stir it into medicines, claiming it soothes wounds, calms throats, drives away illness. You recall hearing of soldiers returning from battle with honey spread across their cuts, the wounds glistening and safe from rot. You sit beneath a tree and tear a piece of bread, dipping it into a small bowl of honey. The liquid spreads slowly across the rough surface, filling cracks and holes, turning hard grain into something soft and golden. You bite, and the bread melts more easily this time, the grit hidden beneath sweetness. The contrast is striking. The harshness of stone-ground grain, and the silk of honey combined in a single mouthful. You chew slowly, savoring each second. Not all honey is eaten plain. You have seen cooks drizzle it over fried dough, the sizzling oil hissing as the liquid touches it. The pastries come out shining, golden glistening in the sun. Children beg for them at markets, their eyes wide, their hands stretched out. You remember tasting one, hot, sticky, the outside crisp, the inside soft, dripping with honey until your jaw glued shut. The sweetness was overwhelming, yet irresistible. You licked every finger, even though grit from the market dust clung to them. Weddings and festivals demand honey. Bowls are set out, cakes are dipped, drinks sweetened. At one festival you remember, women carried trays of pastries shaped like ankhs, lotus blossoms and falcons, all glazed with honey until they gleamed. The smell of incense mixed with sugar, the air buzzing with flies drawn to the feast. People ate until their bellies ached, then laughed through the pain. Honey was joy, indulgence, a sign of abundance in a land where most meals were coarse and plain. Yet honey is also a privilege. Not everyone tastes it often. The poor may lick scraps of comb, or gather what drips from the hands of harvesters. The wealthy spread it thick over their pastries, pour it into jars of wine, drizzle it on roasted goose. You see the difference sharply. A child chewing on a fragment of wax, and a nobleman leaning back with honey running down his beard. Both smile, both are bound by the same sweetness, but one receives it rarely, the other daily. The sun grows harsher, and you carry your small jar of honey back to the village. Its weight is modest, but you feel its worth. You dip your finger in again as you walk, unable to resist. The honey clings, refusing to leave you. Even when you wipe your hands on your linen, the scent remains, faint and persistent. Bees follow you, hovering curious about the treasure you carry. In the evening, you share the honey with your family. Children squeal with delight, smearing it across their cheeks, their eyes sparkling as they lick their hands. Your mother dips bread into it, chewing slowly, her eyes closing in quiet satisfaction. An elder shakes his head, muttering about weak teeth and aching jaws, but still he takes his share. Everyone does. Honey binds not just bread, but people, joining them in shared indulgence. Later you lie down, belly heavy, lips still sticky. The lamp glows faintly, casting shadows on the wall. Outside, the hum of insects continues, mingling with the murmur of the river. You close your eyes, and the taste of honey lingers still, bright and golden, as though the sun itself rests on your tongue. Sleep comes slowly, sweet as nectar, wrapping you in warmth. The night fades, and the sky opens pale, then deepens into gold. You stir awake with the taste of honey still lingering faintly on your lips, as though the sweetness has followed you into dreams. Outside, the sound of querns grinding grain begins before the sun fully clears the horizon. The rhythm of stone against stone is steady, almost musical, a background to daily life. But today the smell in the air is different, richer, heavier, carrying something beyond plain bread. You follow it, curious, and find the source in the market square. Vendors arrange tables beneath reed canopies, their surfaces crowded with trays of pastries. The air shimmers with heat, but the fragrance rises stronger. Figs simmered into paste, nuts ground into flour, honey drizzled across steaming loaves. Your stomach tightens with longing. The bread of daily life is here transformed, not just sustenance but delight. A woman hands you a pastry shaped like a small bird. Its wings are folded, its body round. The crust shines where honey has been brushed across it. You bite carefully. The outside cracks, crisp and sweet, while the inside gives way to softness. Figs fill the center, their flesh dark and dense, seeds popping faintly between your teeth. The taste is rich, deep, almost wine-like, balanced by the glaze that coats your lips. You close your eyes as you chew, savoring the blend. Around you the market is alive. Children press close to trays, their hands eager. Men bargain loudly, voices rising, while women lean over the pastries, choosing carefully which ones to bring home. Some are simple, round cakes with honey swirled on top. Others are ambitious, layered with nuts and fruit, their surfaces dusted with spices brought from far away. A man boasts that cinnamon has arrived from distant lands, though some doubt him, muttering that it is only bark steeped in honey. You linger by another tray, where pastries are shaped into flowers. Their petals are carefully folded, then fried until crisp. Honey glazes them, catching the light, making them shine like small suns. You lift one, it is warm, almost hot, and when you bite, your teeth sink through the fragile crust with a shattering sound. The honey coats your chin, and you wipe it away with the back of your hand, laughing softly at the mess. Others around you do the same, mouths sticky, hands glistening. No one minds. There is talk that such pastries are not new. In tombs, wall paintings show servants carrying trays of small cakes, offerings meant for the dead. Archaeologists centuries later will uncover hardened remains of pastries tucked beside jars of wine and bread, their sweetness preserved in silence. You think of this as you chew, how the same treat in your mouth now once fed kings, priests, and the very gods. The connection feels strange, intimate, as though the sweetness is timeless. You move deeper into the market. The air is thick with scents, roasting grain, melted honey, fig paste bubbling on flat stones. A vendor calls out, lifting a turnover filled with nuts. The pastry is fried, its edges darkened, its center oozing sweetness. You accept one and bite. The heat sears your tongue, but the flavor is worth it. Crushed nuts mingle with syrup, their texture rough against the softness of dough. You chew slowly, each mouthful heavy, until your stomach protests. Still you finish, unwilling to waste even a crumb. Not all can afford such luxuries. At the edge of the market, workers huddle together, passing smaller pastries among themselves. Their versions are plainer, less honey, fewer nuts, more dough, yet their faces brighten as they chew, their laughter rising above the noise. Sweetness, however modest, transforms hunger into joy. A boy tugs at your sleeve, holding out a misshapen cake, half burned on one side. His smile is wide, his teeth sticky and brown, his eyes lit with pride. You take a small bite, and though the dough is dry, the smear of fig across its top makes it unexpectedly pleasant. The boy beams as you nod your thanks, then darts off into the crowd, leaving a trail of giggles. At the opposite end of the square, a nobleman's servants lay out trays draped in cloth. The pastries here are different, layered more finely, glistening with generous honey, studded with nuts that must have come from far-off lands. The noble himself reclines under a canopy, lifting one delicately with his fingers, chewing as though the sweetness belongs only to him. You see how the crowd watches, both admiring and resentful. For him such treats are daily fare, for the workers they are moments stolen from routine. Yet in the end, the flavor is the same, honey on the tongue, fig in the teeth, joy in the heart. As midday nears, the heat grows oppressive. Vendors fan their trays, keeping flies at bay. The pastries glisten, honey softening in the sun, turning them glossy. You sit in the shade, your stomach full, your hands sticky once again. The taste clings to your tongue, and your thoughts blur into warmth and contentment. Later, when the crowd thins, you walk past temple walls. Inside, priests prepare offerings. You glimpse trays of the same pastries, carefully arranged in patterns of ankhs and lotus blossoms. Smoke from incense drifts over them, mingling with the smell of honey. The gods, it is said, do not consume the food itself, but the essence, the scent, the offering of labor and sweetness. Still, you know the pastries will not be wasted. At dusk, priests will eat them in the quiet of the temple, just as you did in the market. The sun sets slowly, painting the sky red. You carry a small basket home, its contents warm and fragrant. Your family gathers around, eyes shining, children reach eagerly, elders smile faintly, and together you share the pastries, breaking them apart, licking honey from your fingers. The room fills with murmurs of satisfaction, the sound of chewing, the faint hum of bees outside, drawn by the scent. When night falls, your body is heavy with sweetness. You lie on your mat, the taste of figs and honey still fresh, your stomach stretched, your limbs relaxed. The lamp flickers low, shadows dancing on the walls. You close your eyes, and the memory of pastries lingers, a golden sweetness that binds the living, honors the dead, and bridges the mortal with the divine. The next day dawns with a thin veil of mist over the river. Your body feels sluggish after the pastries of yesterday, your belly still remembering the weight of figs and honey. Yet hunger stirs again, gentle but insistent. Bread will come, beer will follow, but today something different waits, smaller, humbler, yet no less indulgent. You hear the sound of grinding, not just of emmer wheat, but of something harder, rougher. When you draw near, you see the small, knotted tubers laid out in baskets, their brown skins wrinkled, their shape like tiny almonds pulled from the soil, tiger nuts. They are not nuts at all, but roots, pulled from beneath the earth, washed, and left to dry in the sun. You pick one up, rolling it between your fingers. It is hard, light, fibrous. You bite carefully, and your teeth meet resistance. The surface cracks with effort, releasing a sweet, nutty flavor, a little like almond, a little like coconut, but earthier, grainier. You chew slowly, working through the tough fibers until they soften. The sweetness grows with each bite, and soon the flavor fills your mouth, strange and satisfying. Children nearby are delighted by them. They suck on the small tubers like candy, rolling them in their mouths until the fibers collapse. Their laughter is high and quick, their hands darting into the baskets for more. For them, tiger nuts are treasure, small rewards in the middle of dusty days. Adults, too, chew them during work, finding in them a sweetness that is gentler than dates, less overwhelming, more steady. But tiger nuts are not only chewed raw. Women grind them into paste, pounding with stone pestles until the tough bodies give way. The paste is thick, pale, and grainy, smelling faintly floral. Into this honey is mixed, sticky and golden, binding the mass into something pliant. You watch as balls are formed, rolled between palms, pressed together with quick movements. They glisten where the honey seeps out, catching the light. One is handed to you, you bite. The surface is slightly crisp from the roasting fire, the inside dense and chewy. It sticks to your teeth, clings to your tongue, challenges your jaw, but the flavor is worth it. Sweetness blended with nuttiness, rich yet humble. You chew and swallow, feeling your stomach warm with the small indulgence. It is filling, heavier than it looks, a treat that pretends to be light but anchors itself in your belly. Some say these tiger nut balls are food for the wealthy, delicate enough for banquets. Others argue they belong to everyone, eaten in fields as well as at feasts. In truth, they cross the boundaries of class. You imagine a nobleman reclining on cushions, sipping wine, lifting a tiger nut pastry from a silver tray. You imagine yourself, a worker in dusty linen, chewing one quickly in the shade, wiping sticky fingers on your thigh before lifting a basket again. Both taste the same sweetness, though in different company. At festivals, the balls appear on platters beside honey cakes and date fritters. People eat them quickly, laughing, their jaws working hard. Children sneak them in pairs, cheeks bulging, eyes wide. You remember once overindulging, your stomach heavy, your throat coated with sweetness, your belly aching. The nuts are deceptive, small, harmless looking, but dense with fiber and sugar. By evening you regretted your hunger, lying on your mat with a stomach stretched tight. But by morning the craving returned. You pass a stall where tiger nuts are roasted over embers, filling the air with a scent that is both smoky and sweet. The vendor stirs them with a reed paddle, their skins blistering, their flavor deepening. He offers you one, still hot. You roll it in your fingers before biting. The warmth releases oils that taste richer, fuller. The nut cracks more easily now, the sweetness more immediate. You chew slowly, savoring it, feeling the contrast between yesterday's pastries and today's simpler indulgence. Even the tombs remember tiger nuts. Paintings on plaster walls show servants presenting bowls of small round pastries, their shapes unmistakable. Archaeologists will one day uncover hardened balls of tiger nut paste sealed in jars, offerings meant to last eternity. You think of this as you chew, how something so modest could be considered worthy of the gods, how sweetness binds both the living and the dead. Afternoon heat presses down, and you sit in the shade of a wall. A child offers you another ball, his hands sticky with honey. You take it, smiling, and bite. The sweetness coats your lips again, and you lick them slowly, savoring the flavor. You lean back, closing your eyes, listening to the hum of flies circling, the chatter of the market fading into the distance. By evening the craving is quiet again, your belly full of bread, beer and tiger nut paste. The sun lowers, turning the river red. You walk home, sticky-fingered, your body tired but comforted. On your mat, you stretch out, the taste of nuts still lingering in your teeth. Sleep comes gently, carrying with it the memory of sweetness pulled from the earth, ground with stone, and bound with honey. You dream of fields where tiger nuts grow thick beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered, small treasures hidden in darkness. In the dream you chew them endlessly, never tiring, your jaw strong, your stomach never too full. You wake before dawn, the sweetness still on your tongue, as though the nuts themselves have followed you into the night. The heat comes early today, pressing down before your eyes have fully opened. You rise with a groan, rubbing the sleep from your face, and stretch your arms until your shoulders pop. The room is dim, but a faint smell of figs lingers, yesterday's memory and today's promise. Outside, the village hums with movement. Jars clink against one another, donkeys bray, and the air is full of the dry smell of straw. But your attention drifts toward the baskets stacked near the ovens. They are heavy with figs, their skins dark and split, seeds glittering like tiny jewels. You lift one. It is soft, almost collapsing under your touch. When you bite, the flesh bursts, sticky and sweet, filling your mouth with a richness that tastes of sun itself. Seeds crunch faintly, popping with each chew. The sweetness is deeper than dates, heavier, almost smoky. You chew slowly, and as you swallow, you feel the fruit settle into your belly, both satisfying and demanding. Figs are not just eaten fresh. You watch as women mash them into paste, their hands working rhythmically, pressing until the fruit becomes a thick, glistening mass. The paste is rolled out, mixed with barley flour, sometimes with nuts, then pressed into molds. Rectangles are formed, dense and solid, each one like a brick cut from the sun's sweetness. They are laid out on mats to dry, their surfaces darkening, their edges firming. One of these bricks is placed into your hand. It is heavy, rough, its surface sticky with syrup. You bite. The texture resists, dense, almost chewy like leather. The flavor is strong, overwhelming, as though every fig from a grove has been compressed into a single mouthful. Seeds grind between your teeth, clinging to your gums. You chew, jaw aching, until finally you swallow, the sweetness sinking into your stomach like stone. These fig bricks are not light indulgences. They are food for workers, soldiers, travelers, carried easily, lasting long, filling bellies when bread and beer are scarce. They are energy bars of another age, dense, portable, nearly indestructible. You imagine a mason building a wall, pulling one from his pouch, chewing through the heaviness to fuel another hour of labor. You imagine a soldier on campaign, gnawing at one in the desert heat, his mouth dry, his jaw tired, but his body grateful. You take another bite, slower this time, savoring the richness. The seeds crackle again, and the paste clings to your teeth, impossible to free. You run your tongue along your gums, trying to loosen it, but the sweetness only spreads. Around you, others chew the same bricks. Some smile faintly, pleased with the fullness it brings. Others grimace, rubbing their jaws, muttering about the heaviness. Children chew pieces cut small, their faces sticky, their fingers glistening with syrup. Not everyone loves them. Some whisper that too many bring stomach pains, that the heaviness lingers for days. Others insist they are perfect, praising their strength, their endurance. Accounts contradict each other, yet the bricks remain, eaten daily, stored in baskets, even placed in tombs. You remember seeing hardened fig bricks beside jars of wine in a burial chamber, still intact centuries later, waiting for a spirit to chew. The market is filled with their scent today. Vendors slice bricks into slabs, handing them to workers with dusty hands. The air is thick with the smell of figs, sweet and pungent. Flies circle lazily, landing where syrup has dripped. You bite again, chewing slowly, feeling the weight of it in your belly. Hunger fades, but heaviness grows. You shift uncomfortably, yet still you take another piece. As the sun climbs higher, the bricks become harder, their surfaces drying. edges sharp. You watch a man break one in half with a stone, offering you a share. You accept, chewing through the toughness, the flavor no less intense. Around you, laughter rises. Someone jokes that figs could build walls as well as feed workers. You smile, mouth too full to answer. By evening, your jaw aches, the seeds are still caught between your teeth, and your stomach feels stretched, solid, yet there is comfort in it. You lie on your mat, heavy, satisfied, yet faintly regretting the extra bites. Still you know tomorrow you will eat them again, unable to resist. The lamp burns low, casting shadows across the walls. You close your eyes, and the taste of figs lingers, thick and endless, a sweetness that outlasts even the day. In dreams you chew and chew, never reaching the end, your jaw moving like the grinding stones of the village, steady, eternal. The day rises with dust and chatter. The village is restless, its heartbeat quickened by the promise of trade. You follow the sound toward the broad road leading into Thebes, where the market stretches wide beneath the sun. Reed canopies flap in the breeze, shading stalls that overflow with jars, baskets, and trays of food. The smell hits you first, grain roasting on flat stones, smoke from cooking fires curling upward, mingling with sweetness and spice. The square is crowded. Donkeys bray, goats tug against their ropes, and people press shoulder to shoulder. Vendors shout above the noise, their voices carrying the rhythm of the market. The air is hot and alive, vibrating with sound and smell. You move carefully through the crush, brushing past linen garments rough against your arms, sandals kicking up dust that clings to your skin. To your left, a woman fans her stall with a palm frond, keeping flies away from trays of bread. Loaves of all shapes are stacked round, flat, shaped like fish, shaped like birds. Some are plain, others flecked with coriander seeds or sweetened with date paste. The air smells of charred crust, faintly bitter, but comforting. You pause tempted, but your eyes drift further. The next stall glistens with pastries. Honey drips down their sides, pooling on reed mats. The vendor calls out, lifting one and breaking it in half to show the soft center inside. Children press closer, their faces sticky already from earlier indulgence. A boy licks his fingers clean, eyes wide as he reaches for another. The smell of fried dough clings to the air, heavy and sweet, wrapping itself around you until your stomach growls. Further down, men roast goose legs over coals, their fat sizzling, the smell sharp and savory. Beside them, skewers of fish cook slowly, their skin blistering, the scent mingling with smoke. Workers gather nearby, waiting for their portions, their laughter rising in bursts. You see how the wealthy step past, heading for stalls shaded more carefully, where trays of pastries and bowls of fruit gleam in the light. The market divides itself by purse, yet everyone eats, everyone laughs, everyone tastes the air thick with promise. You stop at a stall selling fritters. The vendor kneads dough with practiced hands, pressing it flat, then dropping it onto hot stones slick with oil. The air hisses as the dough touches, turning crisp, golden. He drizzles honey over each, the liquid shining in the sun. You accept one, warm and sticky. The first bite cracks beneath your teeth, the inside soft and steaming. Honey coats your lips, runs down your chin. You wipe it away quickly, but the sweetness remains, clinging to your mouth, your fingers, even your breath. A little further, a man stirs a pot of date syrup. The smell is thick, almost smoky, rising into the air. He dips a ladle, pours the dark liquid over barley cakes stacked high. The syrup moves slowly, oozing across the rough surface, filling cracks, soaking into bread until it glistens. He offers you a piece. It is heavy, dripping. You bite, and the syrup overwhelms you, rich and dense, sticking to your teeth. Around you others chew the same, their jaws moving slowly, their eyes closing in delight or exhaustion. The heat grows stronger as the sun climbs. The crowd does not thin, it swells. Musicians begin to play. Flutes, drums, rattles, their rhythms weave through the noise of vendors and buyers, adding to the chaos. Children dance in the dust, their feet kicking up clouds that shimmer in the light. Dogs weave between legs, scavenging for scraps. The market is alive, a body with many voices, many scents, many hungers. At the edge of the square, a scribe sits beneath a canopy, his writing tools arranged carefully. He notes down purchases for those who cannot write, recording weights of grain, measures of beer, baskets of figs. His hands are stained with ink, but beside him lies a small tray of sweets, dates rolled with nuts, honey cakes dusted with flour. Even in duty, indulgence lingers. You watch him pause, chew slowly, then return to his work, lips sticky, eyes bright. Nearby, laughter erupts. A group of workers share a large platter of pastries, tearing them apart, stuffing their mouths, joking loudly. One man coughs as honey sticks in his throat, and the others clap his back until he gulps beer from a jar. Foam runs down his chin, and he laughs, wiping his mouth with his sleeve. The air is full of sound, the joy of food shared, the relief of sweetness after labor. As the afternoon wanes, the market shifts, shadows lengthen, the air cools slightly, but the smell of cooking remains strong. Vendors lower their prices, eager to sell what remains. Children run past with sticky hands, their laughter echoing. Elders sit in the shade, chewing slowly, savoring each bite as though it is memory itself. You sit among them, a small basket at your side, filled with bread, pastries, figs and nuts. The flavors linger in your mouth, layered and rich, a tapestry of sweetness and grain. The sun dips, and torches are lit. The market does not sleep immediately. It glows into evening, voices softer now, laughter gentler. You walk home through the quieting streets, your body tired but full, your hands still sticky with honey and syrup. The smell of food clings to your skin, your linen, your hair. When you lie down, the memory of the market hums in your chest. The noise, the scents, the taste of fritters, the weight of syrup, all swirl together as you drift towards sleep. The world softens, but the sweetness remains, echoing in your dreams, like the faint murmur of voices across the square. The festival arrives with the sound of drums echoing across the fields. You wake to the beat carried on the wind, mingling with the cries of vendors setting up early stalls. The air is different today, not just the heat and dust of another morning, but a vibration of anticipation. Even before you leave your mat, you hear laughter outside, neighbors calling, children shrieking with excitement. You step into the light and see garlands strung between poles, reed mats laid for dancing, altars draped in cloth, and everywhere the smell of cooking. You follow the crowd toward the heart of the celebration. The square is transformed, brightly painted banners flutter, priests chant at the temple gates, musicians strike flutes and sistrums. The air is thick with smoke and spice, but most of all with food. The festival is not only prayer and procession, it is feasting, indulgence, a day when rules bend and stomachs are filled until they ache. Vendors fry pastries on hot stones, their surfaces sizzling in oil. Honey is drizzled over them until it runs in rivulets, pooling at the edges of trays. You take one offered on a shard of pottery. It burns your fingers as you lift it, but you bite anyway. The crust crackles, the inside steams, the honey glues your lips. The sweetness is nearly unbearable, overwhelming, yet you cannot resist. You lick your fingers, sticky already, and reach for another. Around you, others do the same, mouths full, eyes half closed with pleasure. Beside the pastry stalls, trays of dates are piled high, some stuffed with nuts, some fried, others mashed into fritters. Their smell is thick and intoxicating. Children dart between adults, hands snatching, faces smeared with syrup. You watch a girl bite into a fritter, so large it fills her hands. Honey drips down her arms, and she laughs as her mother scolds half-heartedly. Even elders chew greedily, their teeth struggling, but their eyes shining. Further down, great loaves of bread are baked with raisins, their tops blackened, their insides sweet. Workers tear them apart, passing pieces from hand to hand. Some pour beer over them, softening the crust, turning them into a sweet mush, eaten with fingers. You try it yourself. The bread sags heavy, the beer adds sourness, and the raisins burst with sugar. It is messy, clumsy but satisfying. You laugh softly as the mixture dribbles onto your chin. The smell of roasted meat fills the air too. Geese turn on spits, their fat sizzling, the smell sharp and savory. Only the wealthy can afford such richness, but their scent mingles with the sweets, taunting the crowd. Now and then a servant passes, carrying trays of goose legs or duck breasts, and all heads turn to watch. Most return to honeyed cakes, but the smell lingers, mixing sweet and savory, until your stomach growls again. As the sun climbs, the festival grows wilder. Musicians play faster, dancers move harder, their bodies glistening with sweat. The crowd cheers, beer flows freely, jars are passed hand to hand, foam spilling, liquid splashing. You drink deeply, the thick brew filling your belly, sweetened faintly with date syrup. Your head buzzes, your body sways, your laughter joins the others. Children run in circles, shrieking, their mouths full of pastries. Priests chant louder, incense burns thicker, but the festival is louder still, a tide of joy that drowns even the temple's solemnity. The processions begin. Priests carry statues of the gods on their shoulders, golden faces shining in the light. Flowers are scattered on the ground, perfumes released into the air. People fall silent for a moment, pressing palms together, whispering prayers. Yet even here, food is present. Offerings of bread, honey cakes and jars of beer are carried alongside the statues, meant for the gods, but eyed hungrily by mortals. You see the duality clearly, worship and indulgence side by side, reverence and hunger bound together. By mid-afternoon, your stomach aches from indulgence, yet the food keeps coming. A vendor thrusts a turnover into your hand, stuffed with fig paste, edges crisp, center oozing. You bite, and the filling floods your mouth, hot and sticky too much, yet irresistible. You chew, groaning softly, but still swallow, still reach for more. The crowd around you does the same, chewing, laughing, groaning, clutching their bellies but never stopping. Not everyone approves. An elder shakes his head, muttering that too much sweetness weakens the body, that too much beer clouds the mind. His words vanish beneath the roar of celebration. Beside him, a young man stuffs a honey bun into his mouth, grinning unashamed. Festivals are rare, indulgence rarer still, and no one wastes the chance. Toward evening, the frenzy reaches its peak. Musicians strike harder, dancers leap higher, voices shout praise to Hathor, to Bastet, to Ra. You join the chant, honey still on your lips, beer still warm in your stomach. Around you people stagger, with fullness children lie in the dust, laughing adults sway with drink. It is chaos, joy, abandon, but as the sun sinks lower, a change comes, the drums slow, the dancers tire, the air cools, fires are lit, their smoke curling upward, carrying the smell of food into the night. People sit in groups, sharing the last of the pastries, sipping slowly from jars. The noise softens to a hum, the energy fading into quiet satisfaction. You lie on the ground, your stomach stretched tight, your mouth sticky, your limbs heavy. Somewhere near, a priest offers final prayers. Torches flicker against temple walls, casting long shadows. A mother hums to her child, wiping honey from his cheeks with the corner of her linen. A drunk man snores beside an empty jar. The festival has not ended. It has transformed, from frenzy to rest, from indulgence to memory. You close your eyes, your body aches, your stomach groans, but your mind is light, buoyed by the laughter and the sweetness. The gods forgive, indulgence today, perhaps even encourage it. You drift into sleep, beneath the stars, the taste of honey lingering, the echo of drums fading into the rhythm of your own breath. The morning after the festival is quiet. The air feels hushed, heavy with the faint smell of ash from last night's fires. Your body still aches from overindulgence. Your stomach stretched, your jaw sore from chewing. Yet before you the temple looms, its columns tall, its gates flanked by statues that rise like guardians of stone. Today is different. Yesterday belonged to the people. Today belongs to the gods. You join the small crowd moving toward the temple courtyard. The sun glances off polished limestone walls, dazzling white. Incense drifts on the breeze, sharp and resinous, filling your nose with a smell both sweet and acrid. The chants of priests rise steadily, a low drone that vibrates in your chest. You step inside, your bare feet pressing against cool stone, your eyes adjusting to the dim interior. The offerings are already laid out. Long tables hold rows of bread, their loaves shaped into cobras, fish, birds, even ankhs. Some are plain, others sprinkled with coriander, some glistening with honey brushed across their crusts. Beside them stand jars of beer, their mouths covered with linen to keep away flies. Further still are trays of sweets, honey cakes, fig pastries, date fritters, all arranged with care, their patterns symmetrical, their colors golden and brown. You pause, your stomach growling faintly despite yesterday's excess. The smell is irresistible, warm bread mingling with honey, syrup, incense, and smoke. Yet you do not reach forward. These foods are not for you, they are for the gods. Or so it is said. Priests move carefully between the offerings, murmuring prayers. They lift small cakes and place them before statues, whispering names of gods as they do. The statues stare ahead, eyes inlaid with stone and crystal, their expressions unmoving, but the people believe. The gods consume the essence of the food, its smell, its life force. What remains, the bread, the beer, the sweets will later pass to the priests. You watch the ritual unfold. A priest lifts a jug of beer, pouring a stream onto the ground before the altar. The liquid foams, seeping into cracks of stone. Another scatters flour across the floor, a dusting that catches the light. Hymns swell louder, voices joining, the sound echoing against stone walls until it feels endless. Beside you, a woman clutches a small basket. Inside is a honey cake, rough and small, clearly made in haste. She kneels, placing it among the larger offerings. The contrast is sharp, her humble cake beside the ornate pastries of the temple kitchen. Yet her eyes close, her lips whisper, her devotion no less than that of the priests. You feel her faith like warmth in the air, and for a moment the difference between simple and lavish vanishes. Behind the main hall, temple kitchens work constantly. Fires burn low, ovens roar, and apprentices carry baskets of flour, jars of honey, bowls of fruit. Their hands are coated with dust and syrup, their faces slick with sweat. You glimpse rows of pastries cooling on reed mats, their tops shining, their shapes carefully molded into lotus blossoms and falcons. Not a crumb will be wasted. The gods take the essence, the priests will claim the rest. For the men and women laboring in the kitchens, the boundary between divine and human hunger is as thin as the crust of bread itself. Hours pass in slow rhythm. Priests circle, chants rise and fall, incense thickens, the smell of the offerings grows stronger as the heat of day settles in. You shift your weight, stomach grumbling more loudly now. You imagine biting into one of the honey cakes. Feel the syrup on your tongue, the crumbs on your lips. The thought is almost unbearable, but still you wait. At last the ritual closes. The statues are wrapped in cloth again. The incense burns low, the chants fade, the priests bow, then turn to the offerings. They carry trays away, disappearing into side chambers. You know what happens there. The food no longer needed by the gods will be eaten by priests and their families. The leftovers of the divine become the meals of men. Outside the temple, whispers drift among the crowd. Some believe the gods truly eat the essence, leaving behind only husks of taste. Others scoff quietly, saying the priests are clever to feed themselves under the guise of ritual. Accounts differ, yet everyone accepts the system. The gods are honored, the priests are fed, and the rhythm continues as it has for centuries. You step outside, blinking in the sudden brightness. The crowd disperses slowly, murmuring prayers, some carrying baskets of their own offerings home again. A young boy licks honey from his fingers, sneaking what little clung to his family's cake before it was laid at the altar. His mother scolds, but gently. Even a taste of divinity, however small, feels precious. You walk back toward your village, the smell of honey and bread still clinging to your hair, your clothes, your skin. Later, in the quiet of your home, you tear a piece of bread and chew. It is plain, rough, filled with grit. Yet as you eat, you think of the loaves shaped like cobras, the cakes glazed with honey, the trays of sweets resting before statues. You chew slowly, eyes closing, imagining that in some way your humble meal shares in the same essence, that the gods accept not only the finest offerings, but also the ordinary bread in your hand. Night falls, cool and silent. You lie on your mat, belly filled, mindful of images, priests chanting, honey dripping, bread gleaming in torchlight. You close your eyes, and the rhythm of the temple lingers in your ears, steady as breath. The night has passed, and the temple walls still echo in your memory. But today you walk toward a different kind of silence. The silence of stone and shadow, beyond the cultivated fields, beyond the bustle of markets. You come to the edge of a necropolis where tombs cut into the rock yawn open like mouths. The air here is cooler, shaded by cliffs, but heavy with dust that clings to your tongue. The smell is faint, dry earth, old limestone, a hint of incense carried on the wind from offerings left earlier in the day. You step inside one of the tombs. The passage is narrow, the air close, torches burn low, their smoke curling against painted walls. Scenes surround you, figures of men carrying baskets of bread, women offering jars of beer, servants piling sweets before seated lords. The colours, though faded, still glow, red, ochre, gold. You feel as though you have walked not only into stone but into memory, into the promise of eternal meals. At the centre, offerings rest on stone tables. Loaves of bread shaped like birds and cobras are stacked neatly. Jars of beer stand upright, their clay darkened with age. Plates of figs, bowls of dates, pastries glazed with honey. These are arranged as though the dead will rise at any moment to take their place. You lean closer. Some of the food is long hardened, blackened by centuries, yet still recognizable. Archaeologists one day will marvel at how time itself has preserved these crumbs of sweetness. But for you standing in the torchlight, they feel immediate, ready, waiting. You touch a loaf, its surface rough, crumbling beneath your fingers. You imagine tearing it, dipping it into a jar of beer, tasting the grit and sweetness. You picture the man for whom this tomb was carved, seated in linen, reaching with spectral hands to eat what was left for him. The idea is both strange and comforting, that hunger does not end with life, that food bridges worlds. Your eyes move to the pastries. Some are shaped into small discs, others into flowers. Their glaze is long gone, but you imagine it honey dripping, seeds crunching, the taste lingering on the tongue. Records suggest that such sweets were offered daily in temples and sealed into tombs for eternity. Not everyone agreed on their purpose. Were they nourishment for the ka, the spirit, or symbols of abundance meant to please the gods? Either way, they endure. You move deeper into the tomb. Niches line the walls, holding more jars, more loaves. Some jars are sealed, their contents unknown. You think of date syrup, dark and slow, preserved inside, or dried fish, salted to last. The variety is striking. This was not just survival food, it was indulgence, prepared with care, as though even death required comfort, even eternity demanded sweetness. Outside, workers rest in the shade, their bodies weary from carrying baskets of offerings. They chew plain bread, drink warm beer, their hands sticky with sweat. The contrast is sharp. Inside the tomb, food is abundant, arranged like art. Outside, food is modest, eaten quickly before labor resumes. You feel the tension between worlds, the living and the dead, the poor and the wealthy. Yet even the humblest graves hold something. A small loaf, a handful of dates, perhaps a scrap of honey cake. Families sacrifice from what little they have, believing that without food the spirit will wander hungry. Better to go without for a day than to leave the dead unfed. You recall hearing of spells written in the Book of the Dead, prayers for 1,000 loaves, 1,000 jars of beer, 1,000 oxen, 1,000 fowl. Grand promises, though few could afford them. Words became food when food was scarce, a kind of spiritual insurance. You sit on a low stone bench, the air cool against your skin. You imagine lying here forever, surrounded by loaves and jars, with beeswax lamps flickering. Would hunger still come? Would sweetness still matter? The thought lingers as you chew a piece of fresh bread. You brought with you, its grit familiar, its taste plain. You close your eyes and pretend it is one of the honeyed pastries painted on the walls. As the day wanes, shadows lengthen across the cliffs. Families arrive with baskets. Children carry dates. Women bring jars of beer. Men lift trays of bread. They move solemnly, placing each offering before tombs, whispering names of the dead. The smell of food mixes with dust and incense. Some linger, chewing their own share before leaving. Others bow and walk away empty-handed. You watch as one child sneaks a fig from a tray, his mother scolding softly but not too harshly. Even offerings tempt the living. The gods may take the essence, the spirits may eat in another realm, but sweetness draws all mouths. Night falls, torches flicker outside the tombs, their glow small against the vast cliffs. You lie back on the ground, belly half full, mind heavy with thoughts. Around you the necropolis hums quietly with unseen life, the spirits of the dead, perhaps, or only the wind moving through cracks of stone. You close your eyes, and the last image is of loaves and cakes arranged neatly, waiting for mouths that will never close, waiting for hunger that never ends. The tombs fade into distance behind you, yet the image of loaves and pastries stacked in the shadows lingers in your mind. As you walk back toward the bustle of the city, your thoughts shift. You have seen what food means to the dead, but what of the living? Hunger is universal, yet indulgence tastes different depending on whose hand lifts the bread. You pass through narrow streets lined with mud brick houses. The air smells of smoke, onions frying, and the faint tang of beer fermenting. Children sit in doorways gnawing on hard crusts of bread, their faces dusty, their hands sticky with date paste spread thin to make the loaves easier to swallow. The bread is coarse, studded with grit from the quernstone, heavy in their jaws, yet they eat with eagerness, laughing as they share, wiping crumbs on their legs. This is the daily fare of the poor, bread thick as clay, beer strong enough to soften it, a few dates when fortune allows. You stop near one family. The father has returned from the fields, his shoulders stooped, his linen damp with sweat. His wages are simple, a few loaves, a jar of beer. He breaks bread with his children, dipping chunks into the beer to soften them. He chews slowly, swallowing the slurry with a grimace, yet relief shows in his eyes. Hunger is satisfied, that is enough. His youngest daughter claps her hands when he offers her a bite, dipped in honey he managed to trade for. She squeals at the taste, licking her fingers as if she has been handed treasure. Further along, the streets widen, and the houses grow larger, painted lintels, carved doorways, shaded courtyards. Here the smells change. Not only bread and onions, but roasted meats, spiced stews, sweet pastries glistening with syrup. You glimpse servants carrying trays draped in linen, goose legs charred and steaming, pastries stuffed with figs, bowls of nuts glazed with honey. Laughter echoes from within. The wealthy recline on cushions, sipping wine imported from across the sea, their fingers sticky with indulgence. You pause at the threshold of one house. Through the open gate you see a nobleman seated at a low table. His hands are clean, his beard oiled, his linen fresh. A servant offers him a pastry shaped like a lotus. He lifts it delicately, bites, and honey runs down his chin. He laughs, unashamed, wiping it with a cloth finer than anything you own. The plate beside him overflows with pastries, more than your entire street could eat in a week. For him this is not festival food, not a rare indulgence. It is daily life. The contrast cuts sharp. You think of the worker dipping bread into sour beer, chewing grit between broken teeth. You think of the noble licking honey from his fingers, his table crowded with sweets. Both are Egyptian, both are bound by the same river, the same gods, but their tastes are divided. not by desire but by wealth. And yet, sometimes the lines blur. Festivals bring everyone together. In the market square, you remember seeing laborers and nobles alike reaching for honey cakes, their mouths equally sticky, their bellies equally full. Sweetness softens boundaries, even if only for a day. Still, when the festival ends, the nobleman's table remains piled, while the worker's cupboard holds only crusts. As you walk further, you see the effects of these diets not just in wealth but in bodies. An old woman winces as she chews bread, her gums swollen, her teeth worn down to the roots by years of grit. Across the way, a merchant wipes his lips after eating honey cakes, his stomach round, his smile indulgent. Both pay a price for sweetness, one in the pain of abscesses, the other in the heaviness of excess. You sit on a low wall, chewing a piece of bread you carried with you. It is hard, your teeth scrape against the grit, but you spread a bit of date paste on top, and the flavor changes. It is sweeter, richer though modest. For a moment, you imagine yourself in the nobleman's courtyard, lifting pastries, sipping wine. Then a fly lands on your bread, and you swat it away, returning to your place in the dust. As evening falls, families gather in courtyards. The poor share loaves and jars, laughter rising above hunger. The wealthy dine under lanterns, music playing, servants fanning them as they eat. Both look toward the same night sky. Both hear the same river murmuring beyond the walls. Sweetness touches them differently, yet unites them all. Later, when lamps are lit, the city hums in two voices. From narrow streets you hear lullabies sung to children with bellies finally full, the smell of smoke and barley clinging to the air. From wide courtyards you hear music, lyres and flutes, the scent of honey and roasted meat drifting out into the night. You sit between them, neither noble nor beggar, tasting both envy and belonging. You return home, belly half full, hands dusty. You sit on your mat, breaking the last piece of bread. Its crust cuts the roof of your mouth, but you chew, swallow, sigh. Hunger fades, though not completely. You close your eyes, and the image of the nobleman's honeyed pastry drifts back. Sweetness you tasted once lingers, but it is memory now, not reality. Still you tell yourself, tomorrow may bring another festival, another chance to eat as the rich do, or perhaps just another loaf of grit-filled bread. Either way, you will rise, you will chew, you will swallow, and life will continue, as it always has by the Nile. The air is heavy when you wake, the room thick with heat, though the sun has barely cleared the horizon. You open your mouth, yawn, and immediately feel the ache in your jaw. It is a dull throb, familiar, born from years of chewing bread ground with stone, sweet fritters glued with honey, and fig bricks dense enough to challenge even the strongest teeth. You probe with your tongue, finding grit caught between molars, small seeds wedged in gums. The discomfort is constant, a companion as sure as hunger itself. You step outside, the street is alive already. Neighbors bent over querns, their shoulders hunched as stones grind grain to flour. The sound is everywhere, rough, scraping, rhythmic. A woman pauses, stretching her arms, wincing as she touches her jaw. Her teeth are blackened, swollen at the roots. You nod in recognition. You feel the same ache each day, though you say nothing. In Egypt, everyone knows this pain. Bread is the culprit, but not bread alone. The loaves carry fragments of quartz from the grinding stones, invisible until you bite down and feel the spark of pain. Yet sweetness too wears the teeth. Dates sticky with sugar coat, the mouth pulling at enamel, feeding decay. Honey clings, syrup seeps, pastries crunch with hidden grit. You chew and swallow, you sigh in pleasure, and later you groan as the ache grows. You sit with a neighbor, an older man who has lost half his teeth. His gums are swollen, his breath sour. Still he chews, tearing bread into small pieces, softening them in beer, sucking slowly until he can swallow. He mutters about the past, about how even the pharaoh's skull, if dug up centuries later, would show the same wear, flat teeth, abscesses, pain etched into bone. Hunger spares no one, neither poor nor rich. At the market, you see the evidence more clearly. A scribe chews a pastry, then stops. Grimacing, he spits into his hand, revealing a fragment of tooth dark with decay. He wipes it away quickly, embarrassed, but his jaw remains clenched with pain. Children suck honey from combs, their mouths already stained with sugar. They laugh, their teeth small and white, but you know what years will bring. Their smiles will fade into the same grimaces, their laughter punctuated by groans. You chew a fig brick as you walk. The seeds grind against your gums, the paste clings to your teeth. You swallow, but the ache lingers. You spit into the dust, a trace of blood in your saliva. No one looks twice. It is ordinary expected. Pain is part of the meal. Yet indulgence continues. At a festival, people eat honey cakes until their stomachs swell. They laugh, groan, press hands to their bellies, then reach for more. The price will come later. Aches in jaws, abscesses that throb through the night, teeth falling loose. But in the moment, sweetness blinds them to consequence. You understand. You too have eaten beyond comfort, knowing regret will follow. A healer offers remedies. He mixes herbs, grinds them into powder, smears paste along aching gums. Some say it soothes, others feel nothing but bitterness on their tongues. Spells are whispered, charms tied around necks, prayers spoken to Sekhmet for healing. Relief is brief at best. Pain returns, steady and insistent. The only true cure is loss. The tooth loosens, falls and leaves behind a hollow in the mouth. Still you eat. You cannot stop. Bread fills your stomach. Dates lift your spirit. Honey brings joy. Even as your jaw throbs, you tear another piece of bread, dip it in beer and chew. You tell yourself it is worth it. Sweetness outweighs suffering, if only for a moment. At night, lying on your mat, the ache grows worse. You press your cheek against the Rita pillow, sighing. The room is silent, except for the faint drip of water in a jar, and the quiet groans of neighbors in nearby houses. You know they feel it too. Egypt's gift is abundance. Grain, dates, honey, and Egypt's curse is the price paid by teeth and bone. In the darkness you close your eyes. The ache does not fade, but your mind drifts elsewhere to memories of honey cakes glistening in torchlight, of dates bursting sweet on your tongue, of pastries warm from the oven. You smile faintly despite the pain. Pleasure and suffering twine together, inseparable, part of the same story. You know tomorrow you will chew again, you will ache again, and you will not stop, for this is the fate of those who live by the Nile, to eat sweetness until the teeth give way, to endure pain for the joy of a moment's indulgence, to carry the taste of honey even into the silence of sleep. The morning sun slants over the rooftops, soft at first, then sharpening until shadows stretch long across the ground. You rise with the usual ache in your teeth and the heaviness in your belly, but outside the air is alive with sound. Men laugh together as they walk toward the fields. Women call to one another as they balance baskets on their heads. Children chase each other in the dust. It is ordinary life, yet there is a rhythm to it, a song beneath the labor. And as you listen, you realize the song is not only spoken, it is sung. A group of workers walk past you, their bodies tired but their voices strong. They sing a chant in time with their steps, a melody that rises and falls with the cadence of their feet. The words praise bread and beer, calling them gifts of the gods, companions of labor. The rhythm is infectious. Soon the children echo it, beating their hands against clay jars, laughing as they mimic the march of men. Hunger makes life hard, but song turns it lighter, turns bread and beer into heroes of the day. You follow the sound toward the granary, where men unload sacks of grain. Dust fills the air, sparkling in the sun, coating your tongue with bitterness. One worker sets down his load, wipes his face with his sleeve, and pulls a small pastry from his pouch. It is crude, half-burnt, the honey glaze thin, but he bites into it with satisfaction. His friend laughs, teasing that the gods eat finer cakes, but the man shrugs, mouth too full to answer. His eyes close briefly in pleasure. For a moment fatigue lifts. Nearby, women grind grain at their querns. They hum as they work, their voices weaving together into a soft harmony. Children play at their feet, stealing small bits of dough when they can. One child holds up a lump sweetened with date paste, showing it proudly before cramming it into his mouth. The women laugh, shaking their heads, and return to their song. Even the grind of stone against stone becomes part of the rhythm, part of the melody of life. You sit in the shade, chewing a piece of bread dipped in beer. It is coarse, heavy, filling. You swallow and hear laughter nearby. A group of men sit on overturned baskets, trading jokes about food. One boasts that he once ate 10 fig bricks in a single afternoon. Another claims his wife bakes bread so hard it could be used as a building block. The men roar with laughter, their bellies shaking, their eyes bright despite the dust. Hunger and hardship bind them, but humor softens the edges. Later, as the day grows hotter, you walk toward the river. There, fishermen haul in their catch. The smell of fish rises, sharp and pungent, but over it comes the laughter of the men. They joke about the gods preferring beer to water, about priests eating more offerings than the statues they serve. One man lifts a dried fish, its body stiff as wood, and pretends to gnaw on it, grimacing theatrically. The others howl with laughter, their voices carrying across the water. Even in labor, even in poverty, there is joy in joking, in laughing at the very food that binds and burdens them. At sunset, families gather in courtyards. Fires crackle, bread bakes, honey cakes sizzle on stones. The air fills with scent, warm and thick. As they eat, people talk, their voices rising and falling like another song. A man recites a short verse about beer being the friend of the weary. A woman replies with her own verse, teasing that bread is the true savior, for without it beer is nothing but sour water. Laughter follows, and soon others add their own lines, a weaving of poetry and jest that turns supper into celebration. You bite into a small cake sweetened with figs. It is rough, chewy, sticking to your teeth, but the sweetness floods your tongue. You lick your lips, and in the firelight you see the same satisfaction mirrored on every face around you. Children giggle as they lick honey from their hands. Men groan theatrically about their aching jaws. Women laugh softly, shaking their heads. The night hums with voices, with laughter, with warmth. Further away, in the district of the wealthy, you glimpse lanterns glowing behind high walls. Music of lyres drifts out, more refined but no less joyful. Servants carry platters of roasted meat and delicate pastries. Laughter spills over the walls, different in tone from the coarse jokes of laborers, but laughter nonetheless. For a moment, you see how the two worlds echo each other. Different food, different tables, but the same rhythm of joy, the same way sweetness loosens tongues and binds people together. Not everyone agrees on the songs, the jokes, the stories. Some elders frown, warning that too much laughter over food invites laziness. Records suggest that even in ancient times, some voices argued for restraint, but the laughter continues all the same. It fills the gaps left by hunger. It eases the pain of broken teeth. It binds neighbors together. When the fire burns low, you lean back, your belly full, your body heavy, your ears still ringing with song. You look at the stars above, glittering faintly through the smoke. For a moment, the world feels whole. Bread and beer, honey and figs, laughter and song, all are woven into one tapestry. As you drift towards sleep, the voices fade into murmurs, then into silence. But in your dreams, you still hear them, songs of bread, jokes about beer, laughter that echoes along the Nile. Even in the darkness, even in the silence, the rhythm remains. The night is long, and when you wake, the sky above the Nile glows with the first pale shimmer of dawn. The air feels softer than yesterday, cooler on your skin, though the promise of heat lies just beyond the horizon. You stretch, groaning, your belly still remembering the heaviness of bread, beer, and sweets. You rub your jaw where it aches faintly from chewing, then step outside into the silence before the day begins. The village stirs slowly. Smoke drifts from ovens as women light fires for the morning loaves. Roosters call, goats bleat. Children rub sleep from their eyes. The river murmurs in the distance, steady and timeless. You carry a small jug of beer and a hunk of bread to the bank. The earth is cool under your bare feet, damp with dew, and you sink down on a stone, looking at the water glimmering like bronze. You tear the bread with your hands, dip it into the beer and chew. The crust is gritty, the inside dense, the beer sour but refreshing. The taste is familiar, ordinary, the very fabric of your life. Yet today you notice how it feels in your body, heavy, calming, binding. The food of yesterday, pastries, fritters, fig bricks, was indulgence. This is survival. Still, both bring comfort in their own ways. As the sun rises, the world brightens. Fishermen haul their nets, women wash clothes on the stones, children chase each other along the bank. The air fills with sound, voices, splashing, laughter. And through it all, you feel the cycle repeating. Morning bread, midday beer, evening sweets when fortune allows. Hunger and relief, indulgence and regret, pain and joy, a rhythm as steady as the river's current. By midday you return to the fields. The sun is relentless, the air shimmering with heat. You wipe sweat from your brow, your linen clinging to your back. You chew slowly on a date, its sugar giving you strength, its stickiness coating your mouth. You swallow, and for a moment the weariness lifts. Around you, other workers do the same, passing small handfuls of dates, chewing silently, sighing in relief. Sweetness is energy, a way to keep moving when the sun presses too hard. Later in the market, the cycle of indulgence returns. Vendors cry out, lifting trays of honey cakes, fig pastries, date fritters. Children swarm, hands eager, mouths sticky. Adults laugh, bargaining for one more sweet, knowing their stomachs will ache but unwilling to resist. The air smells of oil and sugar, of roasting grain, of syrup dark as the Nile. You buy a small cake, bite and feel honey coat your tongue, running down your chin. You wipe it away, laughing, then bite again. Regret will come later. Now there is only joy. The heat fades as the sun lowers. Families gather to eat. In narrow alleys, poor families sit on reed mats, dipping bread into beer, their voices low, their laughter light. Children fall asleep with crumbs still clinging to their mouths. In courtyards behind carved gates, the wealthy recline on couches, sipping wine, chewing sweets more intricate than anything sold in the market. Their musicians play lyres, their servants pour honey over cakes, their conversations drift into the evening. Both groups live differently, yet both surrender to the same sweetness, the same need to soften hunger with indulgence. You feel it in your own body. The bread from morning lies heavy. The date from midday lingers in your teeth. The cake from the market sits stubbornly in your stomach. You sigh, rubbing your belly, half groaning, half smiling. Pain and pleasure live side by side. You know tomorrow you will chew again, you will ache again, and you will laugh again. When darkness falls, the village softens into silence. Lamps glow faintly, their flames flickering against mud brick walls. You sit outside your home, belly full, the air cool at last. Crickets hum in the reeds, frogs croak along the river. The scent of smoke drifts upward, mingled with the faint perfume of honey still clinging to your skin. You think of the cycle stretching beyond yourself, of ancestors chewing the same bread, drinking the same beer, eating the same honey cakes, of descendants yet to come, their jaws aching, their bellies full, their fingers sticky. Egypt is eternal, because its food is eternal. Sweetness binds generations, binds the living and the dead, binds labor and leisure. Somewhere nearby, a neighbor strums a lute, his tune soft, almost a lullaby. You lean back, listening. The melody mingles with the croak of frogs, with the quiet lap of water against the bank. A child giggles once in his sleep, then silence deepens. The moon glows pale above, mirrored in the black water. Your head grows heavy, your body relaxed. You lie back, the stars bright above. The ache in your jaw lingers, but so does the taste of honey. You close your eyes and let the rhythm carry you. Hunger and fullness, pain and pleasure, sweetness and regret. Always returning, always repeating, as constant as the Nile. The Nile lies dark and quiet beneath the night sky, its surface silvered by moonlight. You wake before dawn, stirred by the cool breeze moving through the reeds. Your body aches faintly from yesterday's work, your jaw sore, your belly still remembering the heaviness of sweets and bread. Yet hunger is patient, it always returns. You rise, stretching slowly, and begin another day within the rhythm that has never ended. The village stirs too, fires are coaxed back to life, ovens roar with new loaves, the scent of baking bread carrying through the air. The smell is warm, bitter, comforting, as steady as breath. Children stumble from doorways, rubbing their eyes, reaching for crusts handed to them. Fathers lift baskets to their shoulders. Mothers knead dough with flour that clings to their skin like dust. It is all familiar, repeated endlessly, and yet today as you watch it feels heavier with meaning. You take your place among them, breaking bread, chewing the same grit, swallowing the same rough sweetness. Your stomach fills slowly, and you remember again how food binds you not just to the living, but to the dead. For in Egypt, food is never only for today. It is for tomorrow, for festivals, for the gods, for eternity. At the granary, workers line up for rations. Loaves are handed out, jars of beer measured. Each person receives enough to live, though never enough to feel rich. Men joke to hide their hunger. Women sigh as they balance baskets on their heads. Children dart between them, chasing each other, laughing despite the dust. The bread is plain, the beer sour, but it sustains, and behind every meal lies the hope of more, that someday honey cakes will return, that someday a fig brick will soften the edge of hunger. Later you wander into the market. The sun has climbed high. The air is sharp with the smell of roasting grain, of frying oil, of syrup bubbling in clay pots. Vendors call out, lifting trays of sweets that glisten in the light. Pastries oozing with honey, fritters stuffed with dates, bricks of figs heavy and dense. The crowd presses close. Coins change hands. Children cry for one more bite. You take a small cake, biting into it, honey running down your chin. The sweetness floods your mouth, filling you with joy, even as your stomach warns of heaviness to come. You pause, wiping your lips, and glance toward the temple. Priests carry trays of offerings, loaves shaped into birds, jars of beer frothing at the mouths, pastries brushed with honey until they shine. They vanish into the cool shadow of the temple gates, where chants rise in the distance. You know the gods will take the essence, and the priests the substance, as it has always been, food for the divine, food for the human, bound together. Evening draws near, and you walk beyond the fields, toward the cliffs where tombs wait in silence. Families arrive with baskets, some heavy, some light. They place loaves, jars, cakes before the stone mouths of the dead. Whispers rise, names spoken, prayers offered. A boy sets down a single fig, his face solemn. A woman pours beer onto the earth, the liquid foaming and seeping into the dust. The offerings gleam faintly in the last light of the sun, then sink into shadow. The dead will eat in silence, as they always have, as they always will. You sit on a stone, chewing slowly on your own piece of bread. Its crust cuts your gums, its grit grinds between your teeth. You swallow, wincing, yet comforted. Around you, others do the same, some with more, some with less. Sweetness is shared unequally, but bread is universal. Hunger knows no boundary, and neither does the hope that food will follow into eternity. The stars brighten above. The village glows with lamps. The river murmurs softly. The air cools at last. Families gather for supper. In narrow alleys, poor neighbors dip bread into beer, chewing quietly. In courtyards, nobles sip wine, bite into pastries shaped like lotus blossoms, laugh as music plays. All feel the same heaviness in their bellies, the same sweetness on their tongues, the same cycle of indulgence and regret. You lean back, belly full, listening to the murmur of voices fading into night. The ache in your jaw throbs faintly, but the memory of honey lingers, softening it. You close your eyes, and images rise, fig bricks stacked in baskets, pastries shining in torchlight, honey dripping slowly, endlessly, bread torn by calloused hands, beer foaming in clay cups, dates sticky and sweet, tomb walls painted with servants bearing food for eternity. You realize then that Egypt's greatest treasure is not only stone temples or golden masks. It is this rhythm of eating and offering, of sweetness and grit, of hunger and fullness repeating forever. The dead receive it, the living crave it, the gods inhale its essence. Bread and beer, figs and honey, they are Egypt itself, eternal as the river. As you drift towards sleep, lying on your mat, the world softens, the river whispers, frogs croak, reeds sway, your body is heavy, your breath slow, the taste of honey clings faintly to your lips, the memory of bread to your teeth. Hunger fades, but you know it will return, as it always does. The cycle continues. You are part of it, bound to it, carried within it, as constant as the stars above. The night grows deeper, and the world of Egypt slowly fades behind you. The noise of the markets, the chants of the temples, the laughter of children with honey on their fingers, all of it drifts away like smoke carried on the breeze. What remains is silence, a calm so soft it feels like a blanket drawn gently over your shoulders. You breathe slowly, deeply, and each breath carries away the weight of the day. The heaviness in your stomach, the faint ache in your jaw, even the stickiness of sweetness on your lips, they dissolve, leaving only rest. You feel your body grow loose, your limbs heavy against the mat, your head sinking deeper into the pillow. The river hums somewhere in the distance, not loud now, just a low murmur like a lullaby. Stars glitter faintly above, blurred at the edges as your eyes soften, as your thoughts slow. Every sound fades into rhythm, the pulse of your heart, the hush of your breath, the gentle creak of the earth, cooling under night. You are safe now. No hunger tugs at you, no labor calls your body. The bread and beer, the figs and honey, all are only memory, drifting further away with each breath. What lingers instead is calm, what remains is peace. The images fade, temple walls painted with offerings, baskets heavy with fruit, laughter rising in the firelight. They fall behind like stones sinking into the Nile, quiet, hidden, gone. Ahead lies only stillness, only the soft dark, only the comfort of sleep waiting patiently for you. You breathe once more, long and slow, your body loosens completely, your mind grows light, the world is gone, there is only rest.